We all have different blueprints, but according to society, according to your family, according to your friends and possibly your peers, they think there's a general blueprint for everyone. You have the ability to deviate from that. What is in store for you is up to you. It's waiting on you. It's different for everyone. And like I even find myself falling into this trap, like, oh, everybody should be passionate about what I'm passionate about. Right. Everyone should be making content, right? No, not everyone's meant to be on YouTube. Not everyone is meant to be a nursing major. Not everyone's meant to be a video editor. Everyone has their different tracks. And I think once you kind of take that rounding perspective and you really recognize like, oh shit, I'm not the top dog. What I'm passionate about is not the top standard, right? And you kind of just be like, everyone's on their own different track and you respect that. Feels right, man. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode number 76 of the Conscious Cast. I'm your host, Cal, along with my other really good friend, who's also a gentleman by day and an interesting man by night, we'll say the least. My man, Jason Scalora, how are you doing, my dude?
Good. How are you doing, my dude?
Are you trying to make fun of me, bro?
I'm not making fun of you.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, but yes, it has been a minute since we've released a podcast, and for that, I am sorry. But you know,
no, he's not. No, he's not.
I'm sorry. Okay, listen.
He is fucking grinding. So.
Okay, I appreciate that, as you are too. But yeah, it's so good to be back here at 9 o'clock in the morning, on 8:54 to be correct, on a Friday. Feels really good to just be back because I don't know. Obviously, this is a spot where we have really deep conversations. You know what I mean? And we still have deep conversations. Like, oh my God, I can't even count how many times a week we do. But this is definitely a spot, especially because we record it, you know, and other people could see it, that I consider to be special, you know. But and I've definitely missed it for sure.
Right. Yeah, it's like a conditioning with like a certain place.
Yeah, for sure.
With you, so that's like really nice.
Damn. So I mean, like, how have you been lately? Like, how's life been?
Been good
since the last.
It feels like the calm before the storm, to be honest.
Interesting.
Because I feel like. I mean, most of you don't know, but you and I we're starting the sports videography stuff, and it's feeling like real now.
Absolutely.
And you know, granted, it's only just a plan, but it's feeling real because you know, I just like yesterday I submitted my paperwork to finally start working at the rec center, and not only that, but like. I don't know. I just have a lot on my plate, which is good. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
But it finally feels like I have a lot on my plate that isn't just movement. It's not just classes.
So kind of like active movement in a way, or is it like no? I'm not saying like active movement in the sense that you're aiming towards a specific end. Like, is that?
Yeah,
that like is aligned with like who you genuinely are.
Yeah, it's real progress. Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely. Man.
And so it's very intoxicating, but I feel like it needs to be coupled with an extreme sense of patience.
Absolutely, very true.
And humility, because I've noticed that even though I'm just in this planning process right now, I feel so inclined to even just tell people. Like, oh, I'm starting sports videography business, or, you know, I'm not going to be going out much this semester because I'm going to be going to bed
you're not
early.
saying it for the right reasons,
Right, and I've caught myself saying it, like actually saying it a couple times, and I'm like, I shouldn't have. It's like virtual signaling almost. I'm like, there's no need for me to do that. So I feel like that's kind of where I'm getting caught, but it is what it is.
Absolutely. And like, just kind of like a little update with that. I mean, like you said, we're starting the sports videography thing. And I've always been a person that when someone asks me like, oh, Cal, what are you doing with your career? Right. I'm just like, just going to school for philosophy. You know, like there's like legitimate stuff you could do with philosophy. No doubt about it. But like to the normal person, they're like, what? Philosophy? And like, don't get me wrong. Philosophy's fucking dope. All right. Like, but pragmatically speaking, and like, it doesn't provide a lot of value to the market, right? So therefore, there's not going to be as many jobs. Sort of. It depends. Like if you're going specifically for philosophy, right? Yeah. I mean, there's so many tracks that you can go down.
It depends what you mean by the market.
Yeah, exactly. Market meaning job opportunities, right? Like official job opportunities, whether that be
9 to 5.
Yeah, 9 to 5.
Thinking in the box.
Yes,
job
exactly. Exactly. Very good you put that in there. But like when I'm starting to shift my mindset towards becoming a sports videographer, right? And as I started, and we've touched on this a lot before too, like I used to tell people, like the first thing I would tell people is like, okay, I want to work for a nonprofit, but I also have this like, and I would be like, oh, I also have this like, passion for videography. But now it's like, I'm like, people are like asking me like, oh, Cal, you going to grad school? I was like, yeah, I'm enrolled in grad school. Not anymore, but hey, like enrolled in grad school, but then I'll be like, but I'm really trying to push for sports videography. Yeah. So that like over time, as I've been able to, now this is probably something we can get into, right? Just because like people who are kind of afraid to say what they genuinely want to do, right? Afraid to say what they're actually about, afraid to say what venture they're going into, right? Will oftentimes come up with something like, oh, I'm going to school to be a teacher, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going to school to be a teacher, or like I'm going to school to be an engineer, and they'll say that, but they'll have this huge anchor attached to their heart, knowing that that's not what they actually are about, or that they genuinely feel influence towards, right? And so, but they have that in the back of their mind, like that thing such as like video editing or, becoming a personal trainer, right? That they're afraid to tell people, and they're afraid of that judgment, right? And so like over time in my own personal experience, like at probably like when I first started and like this, you really helped me out with this, like being like, dude, you gotta, like, I know you don't want to be a philosophy teacher. Like you knew where I wanted to be a content creator, right?
Yeah.
And so like over time, as you started to help me out with that, be like, dude, you have to integrate this into your identity. You have to speak proudly about it, speak confidently, right? And so, and like as you normalize that, as you habitualize that, right, that becomes easier and easier and easier to say, and the fear of judgment of others, right, begins to diminish. And so for that, I say thank you, my man.
Of course.
And definitely within my own personal experience, sports, and I'm telling everybody, like whether it be the administrators, right, whether it be my family, whether it be my friends, all the people that I used to fear, right, and used to be like, oh my God, what are they going to think of me? Like now I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm going after sports videography.
Well, for me, so in my case, because I mean, I feel like anybody in college, especially if you're pursuing a more creative career that you don't really need a college, degree for, we all sort of feel this, existential pressure and judgment on us of like, you gotta have it all planned out. But the thing that I've noticed has provided me with the ability to offset that judgment and stay truthful to myself and pursue a path that I believe is something I'm passionate about, has been through developing self-confidence in who I am as an individual. So to look at the root of it, it's like I have good habits for myself. Therefore, I feel confident enough in myself and who I am as a person to tell people openly and honestly that I don't really know what it is that I want to do. Or I want to be a content creator. I want to be a coach, even though I feel this, internal judgment from other people because, 21-year-old life coach, what the fuck is he on about? Or a content creator where you're just posting pictures on Instagram. Like that judgment runs through my mind. But the fact that I love myself for who I am, which comes from my habits, in my eyes, I think that that's what gives me the ability to then have the courage to be truthful to others and truthful to myself with what I really want to do and how I want to be.
Okay. So it's like that's self-love, just to kind of break it down. It's like the repetitive acts that you do on a daily basis, right? Whether that be going to the gym, whether that be meditation, whether that be, creating content. Those are the things that breed that type of confidence. Both, and then you also have internal habits too, like the way you talk to yourself, the way you think.
Right.
That like those are the things that breed that self-confidence for you, or like in self-love for you, and allow you to speak in, I guess you could say, like a courageous manner in front of other people. Is that?
That's what it feels like. That's right for me.
Yeah, that's
is that how it is for you?
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's just that's just like a very interesting type of take on it. And I think that's like something I need to dive into more myself, because like when I think of like the fear of like judgment, I just think personally, and this is like losing that fear of judgment, because I think you kind of broke that down even more for me, because like to me it was just like, okay, you just have to integrate it into your identity, right, by just being willing to speak about it, right? And that's definitely part of it, but like we said before, affirmations mean nothing, right? Unless you develop the habits that align with those affirmations, right? Like Because beliefs are shown through your actions, right? They're not just spoken, right? And it's of course, like self-talk is really important, like how you speak. Words cast spells, right? Like that's why they're called. You know, oh damn.
I remember the
Oh damn, I forgot. Wait, casting spells. So it's called spelling. I don't know, something like that. It's like that's like the famous saying or whatever. But like, yeah, like that's very important. But like, if you're just speaking this stuff, right, and not actually backing it up, I think you can develop this kind of false love, right? And like maybe that you could see that as like false positivity. And of course, it's important to develop the mindset of like I'm gonna become a sports videographer, right? But like if you don't have like any editing experience, if you don't have like any push or plan to go out and get after start making baby steps towards becoming a sports videographer, it's all a bunch of talk, right? And no walk, right? Yeah, literally blowing smoke. And I think that's where a lot of people are at, man. And I think it's unfortunate to say, but I also think too, and this is something I've been like really, really interested in. I think you could touch a lot on. It's because to me, I feel like if you're gonna major in something, right, like whether it be in college or like you're going to go after something, like you should want to be doing that beyond the school curriculum, right? So in your free time, you should be actively pursuing this stuff, right? Not just learning it in the classroom, right? Because like so many of my friends and peers and people that I've met just kind of, and like there's a time and place for these things, right? But you could tell they don't genuinely love what they're doing, right? You can tell because if they genuinely love what they were doing, like they would eat, breathe, and live this stuff, obviously in an appropriate manner.
Right.
But I think so many people just like go to class, do the homework, right? And then they just put it away, right? Just like me with philosophy, right? Like I genuinely don't love philosophy, right? I majored in it, but I only did it when I had to do it, right? Only when it was necessary, right? So you, in my opinion, for people that are going into an area, right? Like I think it is super important that you take it beyond what is necessary, right? And you expand it to a stage where this becomes a key cornerstone of your lifestyle every single day.
Right. I mean, it's easier said than done,
absolutely,
for sure.
Absolutely.
But the question I feel like is, how do you get yourself to the point where you have the courage to do what you feel pulled towards?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Rather than get stuck in what mom and dad want you to do, or get stuck in what you said you were going to do. So now you have to stay socially consistent with your word, or whatever it may be. Right. So now you're stuck as a accounting major, becoming a CPA because it's a good career path with good benefits and like, how do you get out of that?
I mean, like you're right.
I feel like I don't have a good answer.
No, neither do I, dude. I mean, like the only thing that I can say is like speaking from both of our experiences, right? Like just pursue something you're interested in your free time, right? Like, so for us, that's like content creation, you know, like we both kind of like you said, like we're in that spot of, like, okay, we're going to school, right? We kind of don't really have any way out of that, you know? It's like, we're kind of like,
well, what would you say to somebody if they're in a spot where like, where they are, you know, they're 20, 21, junior or senior in college, and don't really know what they like to do. Like they have a couple maybe little hobbies or something like that, and they have a job that they do, you know, 3 or 4 days a week or something like that. But they don't know what they want to do.
Yeah, I found myself to be in that same spot too, because like I had a huge passion for content creation, but I remember the first time I had the ability to apply for a video editing position, I was like, nah, that's gonna like ruin my hobby, right? Like, because I didn't want to turn it into a job, which is a fair point, you know. But I think at least what worked for me was like seeing that I could turn what I love into a job, right? That's when the flip switched.
Switch flips.
That's when the switch flipped. All right. No, that's when the flip switched. All right. So yeah, fuck you, dude. But yeah, like that. When I saw that I could like, and it depends so much on it, but like I would probably just say like, see how you like see what you like obviously like and passionate about, and just see and research, kind of like the more job aspect of that area, right? And it's so if that's something that piques your interest, right, that may be something that you want to like, you know, dip your toes into a little bit more, because I know that's something we've both definitely done.
Yeah, it feels like at least it's almost like a balancing of the dichotomy of
Yeah.
challenging yourself to go out and experience new things.
Yeah.
Cultivated with a level of self-awareness of you notice how you feel when you do certain things and when you don't do certain things.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't always look like I'm going to go take up archery and I'm going to write down how I felt afterwards. Like,
Yeah.
or maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
But to me, I feel like that's really where it comes from because, you know, you look at like my story, for example. How am I supposed to tell people, you know, if you want to get involved in psychology, have some family life stuff, shit hit the fan, and then after that, figure out from your friend that you're a lazy piece of shit. And then once you figure out you're a lazy piece of shit, then, you know, oh, and this is all, you know, as a side note, be a stubborn little Italian boy that can't drop anything or, you know, is so competitive to the point where he has to take everything to the extreme. So make sure you're doing that too. And then take personal development and try and be the Michael Jordan of it and then fall in love with psychology. Like, how am I supposed to tell somebody, like, that's the steps I took? It's almost like self-awareness was had that undertone on all of my new experiences, which I didn't, you know, go out of my way to sign up for, but was a necessary part of me understanding, like, oh, you know what, like, I'm pretty good at this. You know, when people ask me questions about relationships, I'm pretty good at answering those questions, and I feel like people resonate with what I'm saying. Oh, that, like, how do I know that? Like, it's just self-awareness, but like, how do you? What can I tell you? Tangibly, journal, meditate.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, I don't know.
I saw it was like I was reading last night. I was reading "Be Water" by Bruce Lee. "Be Water," my friend, by Bruce Lee. And one of the last sentences I read was research your own experience, right? And kind of be like a free spirit and take what you need from external things, right? So no one has access to your internal world but you, right? And so like you pointed out, right, like there's no concrete track that you can just like, all right, here you go, you do this, then that, then this, right? Like, it's not black and white.
Right.
It's very complex. And the only person that has the ability to see into that world, right, see into what I guess you could say naturally fulfills you, right, aligns with your soul, if you want to say, right, and just feels amazing, right, is you. So it's like you said, you have to kind of dip your toes into these different areas, right? And as you said before, a long time ago, we all have different blueprints, right? And like, when you realize that, I remember when you told me that, I was like, oh my God, that's so true, bro. Like, we all have different blueprints, right? Yeah. But according to society, according to your family, according to your friends and possibly your peers, they think there's a general blueprint for everyone, right? You get the job, you get the apartment, right? You get the 9 to 5, right? You get 2 kids, the white picket fence, right? And of course, it's like there's more than that, but like, you know, kids, a wife, you know, it's like, and if you want to do all that stuff, cool, like nothing wrong with that. But understand, you have the ability to deviate from that, right? And what is in store for you is up to you, right? Yeah. And it's waiting on you. Like, those things, what you're naturally inclined towards, are ingrained in our DNA, right? And of course, our conditioning can change that. Of course, like, our environment alters that, no doubt about it, right? But we have these things that we're naturally, like you said, like, you just don't even know why, right? Like, why that you were just naturally pulled towards and you're good at, right? Speaking on relationships, or me, why I'm pulled towards a camera and video editing, right? Like, that's just who I am, right? And it's different for everyone. And like, I even find myself falling into this trap, like, well, everybody should be passionate about what I'm passionate about, right? Like, everyone should be making content, right? No. Yeah. Not everyone's meant to be on YouTube. Not everyone is meant to be a nursing major. Not everyone's meant to be a video editor, right? Like, everyone has their different tracks. And I think once you kind of take that, at least in my opinion, grounding perspective, right? And you really recognize, like, oh shit, I'm not the top dog, right? Like, what I'm passionate about is not the top standard, right? And you kind of just be like, whoa, everyone's on their own different track, and you respect that. Right. At least to me, in my soul, I'm just like, yeah.
Feels right.
Feels right, man.
And it's also coupled with the fact that, you know, it's not like you wake up every morning excited to go edit.
No.
It's not like you wake up every morning and are super excited to go, you know, shoot some videos.
Yeah, no.
Like, there's going to be a lot of days where not only do you not want to, but you grossly don't even want to get out of bed because it sounds like the worst thing ever,
True.
and you just want to lay there and do nothing and scroll on YouTube and let your eyes bleed.
Yeah.
Right? So people need to understand that, because it's almost like social media and the common view of entrepreneurship and the common view of, not fitting into the matrix and trying to do your own thing has tainted your idea has tainted the reality of what loving something actually is.
Yeah, totally.
Which is, it requires a fuck ton of discipline. It requires a fuck ton of days where you're going to wake up and not want to do that thing.
Yeah.
But it's very internally satisfying.
Absolutely.
That is always the case. So it's like, for me, when I'm doing content, so long as I'm doing it trying to, not trying to make it a means to an end and try and get views, and I'm trying to just serve others, although sometimes it's a bitch and I don't want to do it, it always feels purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always that underlying feeling of like, this is right. And it's satisfying, although I didn't want to do it. And there's the thirds rule, which I will say till the day I'm dead, which is a third of the days you're going to feel neutral, a third of the days you're going to feel like shit, and a third of the days you're going to feel good.
That's a great perspective.
But it means only a third of the days you're going to feel actually good and motivated to do it.
Totally.
Only 1/3, right? It's cute to say it.
Yeah.
It's hard to wake up those 33% of the days. 33% of the days when you do not want to do those things, when you do not want to make the content, when you do not want to make the calls, when you do not want to edit the video or whatever it is that you're doing, because it sucks and it requires discipline and you don't feel like doing it, right? Consistency is going to bring out that third, but it doesn't mean that it feels purposeless, right? So that's the difference, and I don't want people to use the rule of thirds to enable themselves to justify why they're going into a 9-to-5, or to enable themselves to justify why they're in a relationship with somebody or whatever. Like, don't use it and skew it. Use it with an understanding of it has to be coupled with a feeling of deep purpose and meaning.
Yeah.
And when something feels meaningful, right? Like, for example, I got this DM. It might be I think it's really, really long actually, but.
Yeah, I think it's just like real quick. I think it's like important to point out that like you'll take if something that's internally satisfying, right? And use like for instance the thirds rule.
Yeah.
And 1/3 of those days will feel amazing. That is going to be way higher. 1/3, let's just say that's the max, right? That you can reach. 1/3 of those days, it's going to be way higher than 1 in 100, right? For something that's not internally and meaningful,
Right.
Internally satisfying and meaningful to your life. So I think that's just like a really important thing to keep in mind
100%.
when choosing, I guess you could say, a career path or something that you want to integrate within your lifestyle.
Right,
On a
and
regular
it's
basis.
it's also, you need to understand that there's a lot of people that are just happy people, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you look at somebody like Joe Iacovelli, if he got a 9-to-5 job in some stupid company that like Xerox company, and here you can, or for insurance, and I'm the guy that like whatever the fuck he's gonna do, he would probably go into work really excited and have a great time. But his life would be purposeless and meaningless because he would not feel pulled towards what he does.
Yeah.
But maybe a third of the days he's going to wake up and feel awesome because he gets to see
important to point out.
he gets to see whoever that he loves at his job. And so he loves it and he has a good time, but he feels no purpose. So there's this deep, empty feeling within him. But he's a happy guy, so things seem okay to him.
Yeah. It goes beyond just your personality.
It goes beyond just the emotions that you're feeling in the moment. If you don't understand that it needs to be coupled with the deep sense of purpose.
It's deeper than that. Yeah.
Right.
Very
So
important.
so this was the DM I got is a fucking paragraph, and I'm not gonna out the person, but they had sent me a big DM asking, they're like, hey, I really think you should, and they were coming from a good place, it seems like, but they were like, you really should start putting, what do you call it, watermarks on all of your videos. And they had sent me this, and they made one for me just to like I made this for you, like maybe you can use it as a thing for your videos. And I was like, a part of me was like, oh, that's kind of cool, that someone would just make that for me. And but granted, they might want it as a means to an end. Regardless, the thing that hit me was like, I knew something was wrong about that. And the reason why I knew something was wrong about that was because it isn't aligned with the purpose. It's not aligned with it's not aligned with the point. The watermark is a sign of me, me, me. The watermark's a sign
absolutely.
of I don't want anybody to use this content unless you're going to follow me. I don't want anybody to see this content unless I'm winning in some way, shape, or form. No. If you want to screen record it, if you want to download it, if you want to take it, if you want to clip this up and post it and not tag me, so be it. I don't care. The point isn't so that someone can follow me or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it a nice benefit? Sure. But it should only be a side effect.
Yeah.
It should only be a side effect. And so the fact of the matter is that if I were to add a watermark onto all of my short clips or onto anything, then what I'm doing is I'm asking rather than just giving without an expectation of something as a means to an end.
Absolutely.
Because the purpose of it is to help others. The purpose of it is to serve. The purpose is to make someone's life better. And if that means that, someone else is going to pirate my shit and get millions of likes and views and not tag me and I'm not going to gain the followers that I should have from it or could have from it, who cares? It's not about me. That's why there's no watermark. And so that was kind of the process that I went through. But if you're in a career, if you're doing something as a hobby, or if you're doing anything and you want a watermark on it, you're in it for the wrong reasons. Whatever watermark means for you.
Yeah.
Maybe it might be a paycheck. It might come in the form of a W-4.
And I think about this so much with Dr. Good, right? Like, I mean, this, like, literally what you said, like, he doesn't care a lick about that watermark, right? Like, he doesn't care at all. Like, you can just tell he's such a genuine person, and he's doing whatever he does for the right reasons, whether it be teaching, whether it be sharing the indigenous message, right? He doesn't use it as a way to be like, ooh, I'm this, like, spiritual guy. Like, I'm the spiritual figure. Like, I'm better than everyone else. Like, no, he doesn't use it for egoic reasons. He does it for such a genuine reason. You could tell he's in his purpose. You could tell he's so authentic about what he does and what he truly cares about, right? And so many people, including myself, and I'm sure you, right? So many times, especially with how we've been conditioned, not saying we're not accountable, right? Not saying we're not, we don't have the ability to do things the right reason, but it is so important and so easy to fall into the trap of doing things for the wrong reason, right? And it's like, even when I post content on YouTube, right? Sure, I'm posting like a spiritual video out there, right? Like, and people necessarily can't really see my intentions. Like, maybe they can guess, right? But they don't genuinely know. Only I, for the most part, know my intentions, right? And it's so easy to just be like, and present yourself in a way that makes you appear as like a spiritual person, makes you appear as someone that knows a lot. And it's so, like, for me, like, all the time this happens. All the time. I get that ego. I'm not saying this is how I am, right? But I get the feeling, right? But I'm aware of the feeling. I observe it, right? And I don't, for the most part, I don't let it overcome me. Sometimes it gets to me, of course, easy. And I'm sure a lot of people could relate to that.
Of course.
But I think it's just so important to consciously remind yourself of why you're doing what you're doing, right? Because especially within our case, right, like the likes, right, the attention, right, can easily become the reason why we put this content out there, right? Rather than the genuine message at hand. I remember, like, I used to post content of like Russell Brand and myself even, and I wouldn't even know what the message was about.
Right.
And I would just be like, oh, this is going to do so well because Russell Brand's like, corruption, right? And it's just like, yes, fuck the government. You know, it's just like, I had no idea what the hell it was talking about, right? I was just like, I'd find a sentence, so I'd be like, oh, like, but like recently I've been posting a lot more content that I feel aligned with, right? And I don't care about the views. I don't care about the attention, right? Sure, sometimes I pay attention to it more than others, right? Of course. But when you start to make that shift from doing things for the wrong reason to doing things for the right reason, it just feels so right. And it's just like, I don't even necessarily know how to describe it, but it's just like, you know, it's aligned with who you are, right? And aligned with your soul. And I can't urge people enough to do things for the right reason. And I have a lot of respect for people such as yourself that do things without the watermark.
Well, sometimes.
Yeah, no. And it's like, and of course, like, I'm not saying you're not guilty of that, but like, I have a lot of respect for even advocating for that mindset and then also following through with that mindset, because it's such a great reminder for myself and the people watching, you know?
Yeah, so. It's if you're not deeply intoxicated in the present moment with whatever it is that you're doing, with a sense of meaning, not like you're, indulging in some stupid, self-defeating behavior that is gratifying in the moment, but long-term is horrible for you, whether you're, whatever. But where the fuck was I even going with this? If you're not using something as a means to an end, you'll feel it. You'll know it.
Yeah.
It'll feel deeply satisfying. That's why giving is so intoxicating.
Yeah.
There's no means to an end there. That's why it feels so good to trying to think of an example. Like there was a Joe in the nursing community held something in Hilltop last semester. It was like, you'd stuff a bear and there was prizes and whatever. And I won the gym basket or whatever. And there was so many things in there that I immediately looked at and was like, this is just going to collect dust in my room. There was like a bandana, there was a foam roller, there was a yoga mat, and there was like a bunch of the things. Like, I have a yoga mat. I'm not going to use a foam roller. I already have one. I'm not going to wear a bandana. I'm not going to use this. Oh, I'm not going to use this. There was like 2 or 3 things in there. I was like, oh, I'll use this. I'll eat these protein bars. But other than that, everything, even including the bag, I wasn't going to use, and I knew it. So I went back to the table and I sat down and I was like, hey, Nancy, do you want this yoga mat? And she was like, really? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, yeah. I was like, of course. I want you to have it. Yeah. And she was like, okay. And I gave it to her. And then I gave this water bottle to this other girl. And then I gave Joe the bandana. And I gave out a bunch of different stuff. Yeah. And
I was
like,
the pillow? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I gave you that blanket. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, this feels amazing. This feels so good.
Yeah.
And it was because I'm not saying that to blow smoke up my ass.
No,
yeah. I'm just using it as an example because it felt so good just to give. Yeah. But it's because I wasn't giving you that blanket so that you would edit a video for me, or so that
just giving it in itself,
or so that you could flex my TikTok account or whatever the fuck. Like, it was because I wanted to give you the blanket because I thought you'd like it. That was it.
Yeah.
Trying to add value with an expectation of nothing in return. And when you don't expect anything in return, and you're not using things as a means to an end, or people as a means to an end, it feels incredible. Yeah. It's completely intoxicating. And if you're not in that state of mind, and you don't feel that undertone of meaning, of the similar sense of when you're giving without expectation, then you're not doing the right thing for yourself. You're not in the right career. You're not pursuing the right thing because it's not meaningful to you. Yeah. And you're going to look back when you're 80, 90, 100 years old saying, what the fuck did I do with my time? Yeah. Like, and to me, it baffles me to think that somebody can have the knowledge of death in the forefront of their brain as a reminder of their complete mortality and still not do the things that they know they should be doing. Yeah. Even if you don't know exactly what it is, even if the path isn't clear, with the knowledge of death and the fact that you are mortal and still not pursuing those things is completely mind-boggling to me. You're going to die. And you're sitting here pursuing accounting when you don't give a fucking rat's ass about anything. You want a paycheck. Why do you want the paycheck? Why? Meaninglessness. Yeah. You're in the rat pack. You're in the mob. Pull your head out of your ass for a second. Is it really worth it? No. What are you doing it for?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like...
It's so scary.
Yeah,
to me,
dude. I mean, because just so many times, like, I just keep falling back on this. I just even feel myself just using so many things as a means to an end. And it's just like, God damn, bro, like, fuck me. You know what I mean? And it's just like, whether it be a person to get closer to another person, or whether it be using Instagram as a way to make me appear a certain way, right? Or just like, and it's just so, and like, once you recognize how ingrained it is in our conditioning, you're like, wow, I have got some work to do, right? Like, so it's like,
yeah,
just like, fuck me, man. Like, it's just humbling. Like, it's like, both in the spiritual sense and like in practical sense, like I know I have a shit ton of work to do, right? And it's like I still create false images in my head of other people, right? And I'm thinking a lot more in this like mind-made self, right? That takes me out of the present moment and causes a lot of tension in my life, right? And then within that is a lot of times I'm using Instagram as a way to, I'm using Instagram for the wrong reasons, right? And I'm using social media for the wrong reasons. I'm using you for the wrong reasons, right? And it's just like, I'm not saying this is like the entire relationship. Oh, you're like, you could do that anytime.
Depends on what you mean by the wrong reasons.
Sorry.
No, but like I'm saying like in specific examples, not all the time by any means,
right.
but I'm just saying these things arise, right? And it's like sometimes it overcomes you, but like oftentimes it's just a feeling within me, right? And so, but the more you're able to be aware of that feeling, the more you're able to recognize that feeling, right? The less it will come over you, right, and take you over. And I think, like you said, it's just so important to keep in mind that you should be doing things for the right reasons, right? And it's just like, it feels, like I said before, I don't even know how to describe this feeling. Like, it just feels so right. Like giving, for instance, like it just, to your mind, you're like, fuck, dude, I want that. Me,
Yeah.
right? But like to your soul, you're like, yes, everybody wins, right?
Right.
We're all on the same team,
It's
right? And it's just like, it's
right.
not zero sum, exactly. And it's just like, when you start to, at least I found in my own experience, I'm sure you have as well, once you start to align yourself with your soul more often, right? So to break that down, just, I guess you can say your awareness, right? What you naturally gravitate towards, what you inherently believe, and is like in alignment with morality and ethics, right? That's what I find will oftentimes just lead to that indescribable feeling of just like, fuck, man, this is dope. You know what I mean? Good. It's like you just forget about yourself and like you're just all about others at that point.
Yeah, because when it's about you, it's like, what? Why?
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah.
How good are you gonna feel? How many fucking supercars are you gonna buy? Right? You could like Jordan Peterson talks about this in the podcast with Joe Rogan. He's like a lot of his clients would come to him and just be, fantasizing about retirement. And he's like, well, what do you mean by that? He's like, well, I see myself on the beach drinking a margarita. It's okay. Like, that's not a plan. That's not a vision for your life. That's a fucking travel. This is what it's a fucking travel poster. It's not a vision. Like, how long are you going to sit there on the beach with the margarita before you feel like a piece of shit?
Yeah.
A day, 2 days, 3 days? I don't know. Like, you can't. You need meaning.
Yeah.
You're a person. You're a human being. You're wired for this. You're wired to do these things that are going to bring out this inherent sense of, I'm making an impact. I'm doing something. Like, I'm a force to contend with. And the reason why it feels so good is because I'm making other people's lives better simultaneously. And if you're not doing something that's going to bring you there, then you're missing the whole point.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. I think that's a phenomenal place. Unless you had anything else you wanted to say, I think that's a great place. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that has been episode number 76 of The Conscious Cast. I'm your host, Cal, along with my other boy, Mr. Jason Scalora. Where can I find you, my man?
At Jason Scalora. You can look up my link tree. It'll give you all of those beautiful links. It's like a tree with branches, and all the branches are links. All of my beautiful pages, which you probably aren't going to look up because why would you? Because I don't either, because I'm not weird. But it's at Jason Scalora.
Doesn't for significance.
JASONSCALORA.
Damn.
Yeah,
okay, guys.
fire.
Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on this YouTube video, and subscribe to the channel. Why not? It's free. So, guys, make sure you love yourself because I love you.
And stay handsome.
And we're clocking out, people. Peace.